Hey guys, welcome to part 1 of this 4-part tutorial series between myself and Eton Messi. Across the series we're going to go through one of my tracks. We're going to dive deep into how I make the track, and each week I'll give away something small to keep you guys motivated through these times. So this is the track we're going to make. I'll play just to build up on the drop. So as you can hear, really tech house, big chunky drums on this, and it has a really strong low section, and that's exactly what we're going to go through today. So the most important part, in my opinion, of any club track is the low end. Why is that? Realistically, the low end is what you hear in a club, the low end is what you remember in a club, and if you have a bad low end, it's not going to have an impact. And this was the basic idea of my low end. So we're going to go through that today. So usually when I start my tracks, I start with either the kick or the bass line, and I work from there. I'll go through the bass line and stuff in another part, so today we'll just go through my drums. My kick was, so let's start off. I use a lot of samples. Nothing is wrong with using samples, they're there to be used. There are people who their job is to make samples, they're engineers. They actually understand how sound is actually made. And I know there's a bit of a taboo about using samples, but let's be honest, they're there to be used. Use them and make them your own. That's all I'm going to say about it. So as long as you're not throwing 100 loops in your project and calling it your own, you're fine. So stage 1 is choosing your sounds. Now, you're better off choosing a good sound and making it work with your track than just choosing a sound that you like, which is a bad sample or it wasn't made well, and you go crazy with EQing, processing and stuff. You're not going to get there. So the idea is find good samples and work with them. I started with this kick. How did I do this? I had the simpler, threw in the entire loop, just cut out one kick and played it in MIDI on every beat. EQing wise, I EQ everything I put in. Like I said, these sounds are already processed, they've been made by engineers. So I just take out sounds which will not work in my track. What do I mean? Usually between the 600 to 1000 you get a bit of boxiness in your kick. If you can hear that difference, just remove it. Nothing crazy. I boost my high ends, my low ends. I probably boosted my low end to match my bass's volume a bit. Nothing crazy there. And I cut off some highs to give the kick a bit of a more underground feel rather than a punchy feel. Once that's done, I duplicate my kick track to have a main kick and a high pass kick. The high pass kick is the exact same kick, but I have a high pass filter for stuff like this. Just a high pass the kick. Instead of automating it, I have two separate tracks. Once that's done, I move on to my clap group. Why? Because your clap and your kick kind of play on the same notes and they're at the same volume roughly, so I like to get those balanced out first. So same concept, find a good sample, put in the simpler. The sample had some delay on it. I cut it out so it plays on the beat, because I like to shift my samples later on with the groove, which is found here from the groove pool. So I'd like to have everything quantized. Now anything below like 120 Hertz, to be honest, you really don't need in your track unless it's a kick or a bass line or some particular sound. So I kind of EQ out anything I don't need there. It really cleans up your mix. And I notch filter EQ. Why? Notch EQing is going to be your bread and butter. It's going to clean up your mix immensely if you do it throughout your track. Let me show what I mean. Hear that? That like rubbery sound. You're not going to hear it much in the mix, but doing these little fixes here and there, they take your track to the next level. And then I had this audio effect track, which I will go through later on. It's basically some automation I do. I'll explain it in another part of this tutorial. Once my main clap is done, I add some little bits and bobs to my clap. What does that mean? Different clap samples, playing on different beats, just to add some variety to your track. You know, just instead of just having a straight up clap, which gets a bit boring. Some samples. This is a sample I made, just a clap playing fast with some reverb, nothing crazy. Now, once your claps are done, you have your hats. Now I split my hats into an open hat, a closed hat, a shaker and a ride. Those are the main elements. Your open hat generally plays on the offbeat. Closed plays throughout, along with the shaker. They kind of work hand in hand. Obviously patterns can change depending on the style you're making, but this is the general idea for mine. So same idea for my open. Good sound selection, EQ anything I don't need. Now hats are an amazing instrument to practice your EQing on because they have lots of peaks. What do I mean? I'll show you. Hear that? So hats, it's nice to like remove these frequencies. Obviously you don't want to remove too many because they'll take up the character. But if you have any high peaks, other than compressing the sound down, you can get away with this, which I do a real lot, and it really cleans up your mix. I cannot stress enough. Closed hat, which I called open for some reason, is just playing throughout, add a bit of a groove. This is a sample I would have downloaded, probably cut up, or I could have used up the straight sample, not gonna lie. EQ'd anything I don't need. Your hats generally play in the higher part of your frequency range, so no point leaving your lows. And I panned it to the right to add some atmosphere, so at least you don't have such a mono track. And my shaker. The shaker was cool because it was actually a loop full of instruments. But to kind of get the shaker out of it, what I did was I EQ'd my lows, got any peaks out which I don't need, and then I added the sidechain. Why did I add the sidechain? Let me show you why. Sidechain to my kick. Every time the kick kicks in, the volume ducks, so you get a bit of a wavy feel with your sample, up, down, and it really like adds some movement to your track. And then finally I had a ride sample. Rides can be really messy, so I EQ'd stuff. I could have probably got away with one EQ, but I used two. And then I had a gain automation to automate any volumes which kind of went down. So once that's done, you move to the main character of your track, which is the percussions. How I usually split my percussions, it's anything which isn't a clap or a hat or a kick. Very busy group, and I'll go through it now. The main sound was this snare, which I've been using in a lot of my tracks recently. It's basically just a snare sample. EQ'd the lows out. Got any peaks I don't need? See, don't need that. And then I did like a big room reverb, not really, like 2 seconds, just to give some atmosphere. I gave some swing to the MIDI to give it a bit more of a human feel, and you're done. Then I had this bongo groove, which was playing throughout the whole thing. Same concept as the shaker here. Since it's a full loop with lots of different sounds, I didn't want them all to be playing. So I EQ'd stuff I don't need. I saturated it to beef up the sound a bit. And then I compressed it to the kick, sidechain compressed it to the kick to give it a bit of a wavy feel, like we did with the shaker group. And I have the automation group, which I'll explain next time. Then the next 4 groups, same concept. I got samples, I cut out pieces I want of them. I consolidated them together, so I have them all easier to look at, and I just EQ'd and saturated the parts I need. And this is literally what we had. It's like, you can notice that these sounds are like talking to each other. So first one plays, then another one answers. And that's a really nice way to make your track interesting. You have like instruments answering each other and keeping the user interested. And finally I had this rolling sound which kind of played throughout, just to add something to fill up the space. Same idea. EQ'd anything I don't need out, sidechain to the kick to make it bouncy a bit, and you're good. So I know I went through stuff a bit fast, but like I said, I will be giving away the project at the end so you can spend all the time in the world on it. I'll be answering any comments in the comment section if you guys have any questions about how I do my stuff, and that was part 1. Along with part 1, today I'll be giving away a construction kit. What does that mean? I have a track which I broke down into separate elements: bass, kick, groove, and I will let you guys download the stems. Feel free to make your own tracks with it, experiment, go ahead, it's free, it's there to be used. And don't forget to follow me on my socials at Husko Official and Eton Messi on Eton Messi, and I'll be back with you guys next week. Bye bye.